Hi, friends. Welcome back to the BoxCast. Who are you?
Don't worry. It's just Danielle.
It's Danielle. She totally clarked that.
Don't worry.
Well, okay. Well, today on the BoxCast podcast, I show you how to turn this ramen into live streaming. Well, welcome back to the BoxCast podcast. I'm Gary.
And I'm Danielle.
Today, we're going to actually talk about what happens when you have no money.
And a lot of problems?
A lot of problems, especially when it comes to live streaming and having gear.
But by the end of this, it's going to be no money, no problems.
Well, we about to turn ramen into filet mignon.
All right, let's roll.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
So there's a lot of common things that go on with live streaming. There's a lot of pieces and parts to it, right? You have to have a camera, you got to have audio, you got to have internet, lighting, location, engagement. We get all that. That stuff's all natural and it makes sense. Yep. But in the turn, when we talk about no money, we're really talking about a budget. And maybe you're even probably looking at something like no budget.
Big old zero.
That's why you can get that 79-cent thing of ramen noodles. So with that, we wanted to kind of talk today about some tips and tricks, some things that we know of, some things that we've worked around in our own production setups and settings to help you understand a little bit more about what you can do when you have almost no budget and how you can still live stream.
Absolutely.
So let's talk camera. Hit me. What are some ideas you've got there?
I mean, first easily thing, everyone's got a cell phone. Pull it out.
Bingo.
Camera.
Cell phone.
iPhone, Android, Google, whatever.
Yeah.
You have.
Well, most phones, even most phones today, actually rival a lot of the top tier production cameras.
Oh, honestly, I think my iPhone 13 has a better camera than my Canon. I think I have a Canon, C5?
Yeah. Well, and software is getting, way better. With
so much panorama, so much depth perception.
Yeah.
And portrait mode.
Portrait mode, yeah. So it really adds a whole lot of extra spices and things that you'd probably get in a pack of ramen that you wouldn't get in regular noodles.
Yeah, especially when you get that sriracha chicken.
Oh, buddy. But yeah, so when we talk camera, if you don't have the money for a C6 or, a Sony PTZ camera or even those expensive Blackmagic Ursas, you do have the ability to use your cell phone. And the cool thing, technology has caught up with that nowadays.
Yes.
But there's also other cameras you could use too that would come out and probably do pretty well. I know one that we've used and talked about is specifically an iPad camera in that regard. Any kind of tablet camera might even work really well.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking budgetary, so we're not talking high production, big production stuff. But there's also a couple of ideas. I've seen people do live streamings with just webcams.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Webcam, you can do the camera that comes in your computer, your browser-based camera, all of those. I mean, we use those cameras every day for Zoom calls. On our previous episode, we talked about hybrid events. That happens a lot. We use the browser-based camera there.
Makes sense.
Any type of why have extra equipment when you have it already built in?
Right, exactly.
You already have the laptop. You already have the phone. You already have the iPad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen setups where people are using a Logitech C270. It's a little webcam. It's a 720p webcam. And they've turned that around and they're facing it. I mean, especially if you're in a house of worship with a small room and you just want to capture maybe the main stage or whatever, they've turned that webcam around and set up there. I've seen people do that. I've seen people who have bought a couple of Logitech, $200 Logitech webcams, and they've set them up multiple places in the room and have routed those in somehow and into capture devices,
There's so many options, and there's so much of a price range you can pick from. You can get quality for under $100, $200.
Oh, for sure.
But you could get really good quality for over a couple of grand. But you could also get really crappy quality for a couple grand because I just think that they're the hot commodity and you need to pay that much.
Right, absolutely. So I'm going to pose a question to you then.
Okay.
We have, if you don't have a camera, let's say your cell phone's broken, or maybe you're just still running with one of those Motorola Razors. Flashbacks.
I had the Envy flipped up.
I had an Envy. I had an LG chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
The brown chocolate slider. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and like a BlackBerry.
I had a BlackBerry Storm.
Yeah, where you like the whole screen punched
That's
in.
right, bro. Yeah, the click.
Yes.
It's like it's all tactile. Anyway, we digress. Anyway, but like if you don't have an actual physical camera or ability to have a camera webcam or any kind of phone camera, you do have the option of finding a way to record it and then what we call simulate live it.
Yes.
Now I'm gonna pose the question. Okay.
All right.
Are you a record capture or are you a live stream on the moment?
Honestly, my gut says live stream on the moment, but I know you're going to argue against me just because of the quality. So
that's my biggest problem. Yeah.
Mine is I want it live and I want it live now. I don't want to watch it an hour later. I don't want spoilers. I don't want to see things on social media about stuff being like, here's the end of the game. Here's the score. Here's how this went. So if I'm doing it live and just going with it with my phone camera, I'm clearly one at the event, so that's one part. But two, I know that like there's only maybe like a 30-second delay versus like an hour delay where you record and then sim live after, and I have to wait. You know, by the time that it's done, it's been 2 hours after the event's over.
Right. Yeah.
And like,
I see that. I'm more of a, if I don't have the right equipment or if I just feel sketch about something, then, you know, if I feel like something's super janky, then I'm literally going to just record it and then upload and share it, you know, within a few minutes. Now, I can tell you that technology's gotten a lot better.
Yes.
Where live streaming is a lot easier to do on the fly versus having a full production setup.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where like apps come in and different things like that you can literally just hit go live. We have one here called the Broadcaster app. You just turn it on, go. But that requires internet.
Yes, it does. Yeah. So if we could talk about. You don't have
any internet, or you don't have really spotty internet, or you're on really public Wi-Fi and everyone else is on the public Wi-Fi.
Or
like
your cellular data is awful.
or you ran out of data minutes for the month.
Yep.
What you gonna do? And in that case, you have to sim live. You have to record and sim.
You got to record and sim.
But if I have the option, I'm gonna do it live.
Yeah, I think that would be mine too, but I lean more towards the record and share just because I want the quality to still be maintained.
Yeah.
And if it's also an event, in my opinion, that is not like hyper important to be to actually be live streamed, then I can see that. But I do agree with you in a regard. I'm not going to argue against you, but I do with you. If I can live stream it, I'm going to do it first.
All right, mark that on the calendar. Gary's not going to argue.
I'm not going to argue today. Yeah, well, that's also because I've had a ton of tea, so we're fine. I'm not a coffee drinker, dude. I don't.
Just espresso.
Oh.
If you're gonna take it back. Go done.
She's a little bougie over here. All right.
I don't like the taste of real coffee, which I know espresso is real coffee. We can argue about that, but I like it with a lot of milk and syrup, not just straight coffee.
In other words, she likes it Americanized. Lots of sugar.
Yeah. I want hot chocolate with a splash of espresso, not espresso with or not coffee with a splash of milk.
I got you. Okay. Well, speaking of splashes, it's a little difficult in live streaming world when you can't see somebody.
Yes.
Right? So what about lighting?
Yes. The biggest tip is try and find that natural light. The biggest thing is when you're outside and it's mid-July, August, September, whatever time of year it is, you have to know.
It's 120 degrees out.
It's warm. The sun is beating. We want you to find natural light. But to that point, don't stand in the sun where you're being blinded and you're squinting, or don't record into the sun where you've got glare. The biggest thing is you want to make sure you find the natural light, but also you play to the shadows, because also don't be in the shadow where no one can see your face. Like, you have to make sure that you angle it enough where you can see everything, but know that it's not going to be perfect like it would be if you had studio lights.
Right. Yeah. Natural light actually is probably one of my most favorite lights. The only problem with natural light is it's a little bluer than I'd like. So you have to take that in consideration when you're trying to actually do anything in the live streaming world, or even recording for that matter. And you can't do a white balance and you can't do color correction. So you have to kind of take that in consideration. Like, there's a little bit of here play, but natural light is probably a way better temperature of light. So it makes it easier. But I like what you said about glare, and that's a big thing. Like, there's a thing in production called the rule of thirds.
Yeah, I love the rule of thirds.
Yeah, and it not only applies to video, it applies to photography as well, and I like to apply it to life.
The rule of thirds in life.
In life. So the rule of thirds, can you give me just a basic overview of a rule of thirds?
Yeah, so the rule of thirds is your camera is split into 3 sections. It's a 9x9 grid. Basically, or it's 3x3, so it makes 9 squares. The idea is you want to be in the middle of that square or up or even on the bottom line to give yourself head space. You want to make sure that you're either center or on a little bit of the side to give you side space. You want to make sure you have below space. You want to make sure that your person in the frame is in either that middle box or in one of the connecting intersection points around that to ensure that you have a really great framed piece of production, whether it's a video or photo.
Right. The framing is important with that. Now, I know with our broadcaster app, we give you a grid, which is the lower third option to help with that. I've seen other apps that do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, your camera app on your iPhone, you can turn on and off the grid. Turn on a grid,
yep. You can turn it on in the lower thirds. And so it's important that if you get the right, and we're not telling you have to be professionals with it, but if you get enough of an framing on that, you can actually help reduce glare quite well. We do that here actually too with our light systems. We only have 2 lights up here that we use, and so with me sitting at the right angle to this camera, at the right angle, you won't see the glare as much as it hits. Now, if I move my head, that's a completely different scenario.
Yeah, and then same with this direction for me. Then you've got our middle. You may see a little bit reflection in the glasses, but it's nothing that's too wild.
Right, exactly. So framing is important, especially if you don't have a full production setup. Framing in general will help make that quality a little bit better.
Yeah, and one of the other rules is when you're framing, you can also then see what's in your surroundings. You don't want someone doing something weird in the corner over here.
Photobomb!
Yeah, you don't want cars zipping by. You don't want distraction in the lower corners or the upper corners. Then you might have the sun up here that's glaring in. You just want to make sure if you're looking at that and you're seeing the 9 squares, you're okay, all 9 squares, good, check, done, then you're good. There's no you need to be at an 8-degree angle with 45-degree torque. It's not that much of science. It's really just making sure that you have looked around your surroundings, you have looked at the glare, you have made sure that the thing that you're recording, whether it's a sporting event or a person, they are in focus and they're in the center. Obviously, sporting events are a little hard. You've got a lot of movement, especially if you're playing football or you're doing a running sport. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times my parents tried to record me running, and it was just and it was just a blur, and they got 2 of my leg. I only have 2 legs, but they caught the lower parts of my legs because they were trying to do it all at one time, and it was just
I know that Josh told me one time, he's one of Josh's hot tips, I think it was number 592 or whatever. He said that when you do any kind of sporting event and you're doing tracking with sporting events, just pick something and track that.
Yes.
So for example, the tracking that they do with say, NFL sports games, football, NBA, is they don't track the player, they track the ball.
Yes.
So they stick on the ball. So that would be a good thing.
Obviously, it's a little hard if you're playing soccer and the ball is being moved a lot. If you're playing football and you're not sure if it's going to be passed or thrown, ran or whatever. Obviously, there's a lot of options, but if you are at least 85% attentive to that, you're going to get the shot.
Yeah, absolutely, and it'll look pretty decent. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we talk about lighting in scope of being natural light, but a lot of times, sometimes you're filming things or you're recording things or live streaming things that aren't going to be in the natural light.
No.
So that's where you've seen technology with this increase heavily.
Yes.
I would say at least in the last 6 years, 6 or 7 years, ring lights have become huge.
TikTok has brought ring lights to the front.
Right.
How many times have I walked my dogs and I see 14-year-olds with a little ring light outside, and I'm you guys have natural light. You don't need to be a ring light outside, but they want that. How many times have you've seen that aspect? And you even just on Zoom, I know people have gotten those just morning lights to help that sunlight, especially in gloomy Ohio in the winter. You want something, but it's amazing how when you turn on just a little loom light or ring light, and it's just boom, it just gives you a little bit that chef's kiss of light.
Yeah. And we would definitely highly recommend that if you look into a ring light of any sort, or even like an RGB panel light, that maybe you find one that has color adjustment and temperature adjustment. So that way you're able to actually tone down or tone up the color from being cool or hot or red. In this case, and it makes a lot of sense, especially in that regard.
Oh yeah, I mean, we do that with our lights in our house. We have like smart bulbs all over, and like they're like perfectly balanced between cool and warm. And like sometimes if I really need it like warmy, I'll turn it. But if I need like that bright, like almost like hospital sterile light, I turn it all the way up so I can see something.
See, that's the thing. I don't know. Maybe Wade can give me a thumbs up here for a second. Wade, are you a 4400K person? He's about 45. He said 4500. Yeah, I like between 42 and 45 is where I put my color in my lights.
Yes.
And that's also just based on camera and like your cell phone. Like I've done that with many times, or where you're at in the room and how much blue light's available coming from your lights. So there's a lot there.
Oh yeah, and I know like a lot of the times the biggest thing is like when I'm on Zoom or something, I've got a lot of reflection from both my screens coming in, so I have to watch and I'm like, ooh, that looks a little weird. So like I'll turn my back one to kind of like, I have like a little office light behind me. I turn it just a little bit of a color to either match it or to make it that balanced piece. So I'm not like, oh my God, it's too blue in here or it's too yellow. And like my office is peached colored walls. So like, obviously I like bright things, but I want it to make sure that it's not too bright because it does get a lot after a while, especially like early mornings and it's like dark and rainy outside.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's a reason why I don't turn on like the overhead light in my office. I only turn on the lamp.
Oh yeah. Well, and then you have to be very careful. Some cameras, especially if you're using like a webcam, for example, some cameras just can't see color differentials like that very well, so you have to be careful.
No, especially if you try to like zoom or gray out the background and blur it out, and then all of a sudden you like lose a shoulder.
Yep, exactly. Or you put the color light up, red turns to orange. So
yes, exactly.
You got to be careful with that. But yeah, so what would you say about? We're moving topics really quickly. Sorry guys, but what would you say about when it comes to making our ramen noodle into filet mignon? When it comes to audio.
Oh, audio. Obviously, we love mics. We've talked about them so many times.
I love my MV7.
We love these. We love, our handhelds. We love our lavs. But honestly, I have found that if I don't have one of those available, AirPods. My AirPods pick up my audio perfectly. Obviously, that's for me.
Great thought.
If that's for me, if I'm talking, the AirPod makes it so much better. One, I can hear, obviously, because I have it in. But two, I know that it's picking up that audio, and it's not necessarily picking up all of the surroundings. I know it's not like, it definitely does pick up some at the time, but it definitely picks up me first. If you don't have that available in you're recording somebody out like Gary, something you can do is you make sure you have that projection. So, some really cheap like college tips right now are like, if you need something to be more of a speaker, put it in a glass cup, put it in the speaker, can project out it completely.
Oh yeah, the amplification, reflection, yeah.
But obviously if Gary is talking and I'm recording over here and he's talking and he doesn't have a mic, projection. Like he has to know that he has to speak up and loud and clear, slow, but also like not yelling at me, because we don't need to be yelling into the microphone ever. Whoa. Sorry, Wade. But you can't be whispering because then no one's going to hear you. You have to make sure you have that good balance, that clear articulation.
You put those glasses on, you went fire mode on me.
Listen, came to play today.
That's right. I will say that came to play today. I like that. I will say that there's some really good microphone systems out there that do work with an iPhone or with a tablet. Rode actually released one a little while ago.
I have one.
One of the wireless clip Bluetooth mics.
Oh no, not that one, but I do have a Rode one at home.
Rode mics are really great.
I love them.
Although I'm an MV7 guy,
I have both. Mics. I'm not a brand snob when it comes to my microphones. I'll be honest.
Really?
No.
I am. But Rode makes a really nice Bluetooth version. I forget the name of the model number, and I'm sorry. Maybe Wade could find it for us and put it in here. But it's a really great microphone. It actually clips on. It's Bluetooth connection to your device. It's fairly inexpensive. If it's a higher end piece of equipment that you're wanting to buy and not looking at a camera, then you would want to go with a microphone at that point.
I do have like a little mic set that plugs right into my iPhone that I bought off of Amazon, I think for like $70. It comes with like almost like a boom style. It comes with a lav. It comes with the muffler, everything that comes together. It like comes in a little roll up package, and I throw it right in my camera bag.
Be careful with those though, because the Amazon specials don't always end up working well. Now, I will tell you, there's a microphone, and again, I'm a Shure snob, but the MV7 is this mic here, which is a great podcasting mic and studio microphone. But the MV88 is a really awesome option.
It comes with a little tripod.
It's got a little tripod. It's got a whole package of connectors and stuff. It's a really great option, especially you can turn the microphone and do a bunch of different styles.
Selfie style, you can set it up. Yep. I do also have that at home. I love that. I have recorded a few things for like, I was doing my master's program for a while there, so like I had to record myself giving a presentation, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do it right. So I put in my mic, attached it, set it up. Perfect.
And it works well. I've used that microphone for a lot of interview things that I've done. I've also used that microphone quite often as a Zoom mic. We put it up. In fact, when I first got it, I actually put it on a boom arm. Innovation right there.
Right.
So put it on a boom arm. It actually worked really well because then you can move it and get it further away. But the thing about microphone and audio, though, I think if you're interviewing or you're talking or you're having live streaming, that you're doing anything that has audio and is a prominent audio. We're talking prominent like an interview style, or maybe you're capturing some sort of news event or something in that nature. With audio, the importance is the subject has to be able to be heard. So speaking clearly, projecting, enunciating. I always say it wrong. Deliberately making sure that you're not clipping your mic or mumbling or fumbling.
Or talking
your
too
words.
fast.
Right.
That's my problem.
Right.
I talk too fast sometimes. I get really hyped up and it just rolls. My
Wade
mom's
does
like,
that too from
time
time
to
time. But Wade's also a professional. So, but in turn with that, like, is just speaking clearly and making sure that you're enunciating. Hey, I did it right this time. And you're making sure that you're enunciating and speaking clearly and having that projection. It will do an immense amount with just like your device's audio capturing device, like the microphone that's inside of it.
Yeah, so. I mean, have you ever recorded a concert on your phone and you listen to it later and you're like, oh, all
this
I
sounds
hear
like nothing like what I heard.
All I hear is the music too loud, but then I hear myself singing because I'm next to the microphone and I'm just really hyped about the song, and so I'm swinging and swaying and all of that jazz. Then you listen back into it and you're like, ew, don't do that.
Yeah,
don't do that.
So be careful. Always be careful.
Don't record your concerts. No one wants to see them.
There's a lot to this ramen filet mignon thing.
Yes.
So with that, you're probably thinking, well, if we're live streaming the event, what do I need to do to live stream it? Well, there's one big piece of this puzzle that we got to hit, and that's obviously the intrawebs.
Yes. I mean, we kind of touched about it a little bit earlier of like, no internet, what do you do? Obviously, Gary loves to record in Sim Live, but what if you don't have Sim Live as an option? What happens then?
What rip it to DVD.
Flash drive, floppy disk.
Actually, floppy disk or even a VHS. You know those are making a comeback now, right? Like, we're all aware of those, right?
I didn't know it was coming back.
Stranger Things, man, has really picked that up.
Yes, running up that hill.
I am a VHS kid.
Yeah, same. We had the rewinder. I had
the spinner that you slid them all in. It was like a 48 VHS.
Yeah.
Spin that sucker around. You're like, carousel. What do I want?
Yeah, my mom's got like 15 shelves of Disney VHSs and like the office.
The nostalgia is kicking in. Geek.
Yeah, I told her that we should sell those for money.
Yeah, you could. But there is that aspect of like, what do you do when you don't have internet? Well, obviously recording it is your only option. Especially if you're recording it on your phone or your tablet device. But what if you had some sort of internet, but you don't have like a hardline connection or a Wi-Fi connection? You'd probably want to jump to mobile, and that's a big thing right now with a lot of live streamers. Like I can tell you, Josh and Wade's company, they have they have a mobile unit that they use, a mobile cellular unit that is a hotspot in words. But they have a router that's attached, and there are these companies that make them. Pepwave is one. Motorola, I believe, makes one. Netgear makes one. But what they essentially do is it's a router, and inside of that router is they call them SIM card inserts. So you can take the SIM card from your wireless carrier, insert it into this router, okay, or they call it a cellular bonder. and it will then act like a cell phone where it's picking up the signal from the cell towers, and then you're able to use the data as a hotspot. Yeah.
Yeah. I do love my hotspot. I do use that frequently.
I do too. Yeah. I used it last night.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've used it when stuff with like my iPad. I'm not going to pay to have another mobile line to my iPad when I have hotspot on my one. So obviously I connect that when I need something. So what happens if there's a storm? The Wi-Fi connection's out, the cellular's crap because either there's too many people or that storm's in there. You have no hard line, and you can't sim live.
Yeah, you're in big trouble.
You are eating the flavor packet of the ramen at that point. You don't even get the noodles. You just get the flavor packet with some water.
It's a little bitter. Yeah, that's a hard scenario. I mean, because you're really cutting out every piece of the puzzle that you would have as a backup.
Yes.
So if you can't record, then at this point in time, it's just enjoy the show.
Yeah. But with that, though, there are ways to use the bare minimum equipment, bare minimum styling techniques to get a good show. I mean, I have seen multitudes of things that have been recorded just via an iPhone with a ring light, maybe a mic, maybe not, and on mobile. And it's turned out better than sometimes just with cameras and a full production because the simplicity just helps. It just takes down that pressure of like, here's what I have, here's what I can do. Obviously, if you've got the chance to do full gear and like full camera and you've got that clear 4K, awesome.
Yeah, go for it. But
if you don't, it's okay. Like, it does not matter the level of production experience or the level of complexity as long as the show looks good in reality.
Right. And this is also for the person who is like learning to dabble into the live streaming or even into the production and videography world. I know friends who have started in this business before or started in that industry before and have literally only started with a single camera and Final Cut Pro, right? And then they got into that business, and now their business takes off where they've got maybe 6 or 8 clients in a single week that they're working with.
Yeah, and they've got 4 or 5 real cameras. Right. They've got how many
lighting,
things of lights? They've got
audio, mics.
They've got 6 crates of wires. But yes, to start, simple is better. Don't make it complex. Don't make it too hard to learn.
Right.
Start simple. I mean, when I started learning I have a video production degree, so when I was starting that, when I was in college, they handed us this tiny little camcorder and a lav mic and said, go interview 5 people on campus. And I was like, okay, walking out with my little tripod, my little mic. And then I was like, okay, yeah. And then eventually it became I'm lugging around a light kit. I'm lugging around the full audio kit under an arm. I've got the camera in the other arm. I've got another guy who's helping carrying something else. I've got a little dolly of stuff. And I'm just to interview 4 people on campus. Yeah. But in order to get to that step, I had to crawl before I could walk and run. And that was the biggest key right there, is because if they would have thrown me into a full-on production and said, run this camera, run this lighting, run this switcher, I'd been like, do you want this to go well? Because I didn't know. I was
well, no, we're just testing you.
Right. And that's the biggest thing is obviously with my major, it's classes. So they're building you up and up. But at that point, it also just the more you practice, the more you get better at it. There can be times where we could be hey, Wade, we need to record something. And Wade whips out 2 cameras real fast, plugs it in, and we're done in 3 minutes. This morning, it took us 15, 20 minutes to get everything set up because we needed to have more. We need to have 2 mics. We need to have 2 lights. We need to have multiple camera setups. We needed to have the complexity to get the show that you're watching right now. So all with that said.
That takes a lot to make me look beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of filters over here.
There's a lot of NSF filters.
All with that said, though, don't stress about it. If you have at least a phone and at least some Wi-Fi, you can stream. Yeah,
absolutely. And if you don't, you always have that backup option. I've seen a lot of TV shows. I've seen a lot of TV production shows who use GoPros too.
Oh, I love my GoPro.
Or an action cam in general.
Yes.
Now, again, be careful with those Amazon buys, my friends. Okay, not all of those action cams are really good, but you could probably get an action cam for $100.
You can get a lot of refurbished.
Yeah, a lot of
action cameras, GoPros. If someone has a 5 or version 5 or 6, and they want a 12 now, they're gonna sell their old one. You can buy one for under $100. Yeah, they're a great learning piece because they do come with an app too, where you can edit and clip and all that stuff inside of just your phone. And that's so nice. Obviously, as you get more experience, you may have You may go into the Adobe suite. I know like they've got one that crosses between mobile and desktop, which is just, I love that.
Yeah, there's a lot of options.
Start editing on my phone, and then I can import on my phone, and then it's right on my computer when I get home, and just
yeah,
done.
There's a lot of options. You have, and then you can go the gambit from, being super simple to maybe getting like a stabilizer or a good tripod, or there's a whole lot of accessories that go into this. But what we wanted to talk about was if you were working with ramen noodles, what is the best dish you could make? And the same thing in here, in concept with live streaming. If you're working with nothing in your live stream, only a simple cell phone and maybe some internet, then what is the best way to do that? So I hope we gave you a lot of tips today. I'm going to land this plane. We're going to finish out this meal, and then, in-flight service is over. But we wanted to kind of give you, everybody who's watching and listening today, a little bit of an idea that you can do this. Technology has caught up with us. You can do this.
Yeah.
The ability to handle a live stream with just a simple phone now, or anything that's, like an iPad that can be connected to an internet connection is possible.
Yes, there are categories now at film festivals for made on mobile.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
There are anywhere between 14-year-olds to 95-year-olds out there making full films on iPhones. You can do a live stream.
And Apple even says in their ads, they said made with iPhone.
Yes.
Right? Where they film it with an iPhone. So, yeah.
Don't fret. Don't worry. Buy your ramen. Enjoy it. One day you will have the filet mignon of live streaming. But until then, you can do this.
Unless you buy the filet mignon version of the ramen, then...
then you've got the best of both worlds.
Then you do have the best of both worlds. So, well, that's it. Plane's landed.
All right, friends. Thanks for watching, and happy streaming.
Yep.